So far, over 1,000 employees of meat processing giants like Tyson, JBS, and Smithfield have tested positive for the virus, forcing the temporary closure of at least 15 plants.
Fears of a meat shortage is driven by a growing number of major meat processing plants closing because of COVID-19.
Tonight, signs that a critical link in the nation's food supply chain might be cracking, as some meat processing plants around the country have become COVID-19 hotspots.
President Trump says he will invoke the Defense Production Act to order meat processing plants to stay open during the pandemic. It comes amid warnings that meat shelves in grocery stores could go empty this week.
The meat industry says beef and pork production is down about 30%. The Bartling brothers in Nebraska, with 40,000 pigs, say they are busting at the seams.
The 2020 outbreak of the coronavirus has caused widespread social and economic damage. The agricultural sector, specifically the production of meat, is currently facing an economic crisis. The shutdown of processing plants is creating a shortage of meat in the stores, as well as causing a massive depopulation of farmed animals. Cow slaughter rates are currently 24% lower now than they were at this time last year, and pig slaughter rates are 13% lower. The media has reported widely on the shortage of meat, however, the underlying causes and effects have not been reported on nearly as much.
There is growing concern that America's meat supply could be in jeopardy by the end of the week. The food supply chain is breaking, comes the stark warning from John Tyson, chairman of the second largest meat supplier in America.
Tyson's president going on to say there will be limited supply of our products available in grocery stores until we're able to reopen our facilities that are currently closed.
This crisis has had obvious negative impacts on consumers. However, it's incredibly important to look past the consumer gaze and to the farms that are experiencing massive loss due to depopulation, extreme resource waste, as well as plummeting revenues that are putting their livelihoods in jeopardy. The crisis that we are currently facing is an example of how the breakdown of the agricultural system can occur. U.S. agricultural policy is far from perfect, as lawmakers strive to satisfy demands on both the producer and consumer side of the supply chain while maintaining economic, social, and environmental integrity. I believe that the agricultural policies that are in action today achieve basic levels of satisfaction. However, there are significant problems regarding polarization, scale mismatch, and a lack of clarity in education. Polarization within the agricultural sector is causing gridlock concerning important economic and environmental issues. Opposing groups see their side of the coin instead of working on finding a middle ground. One of the most profound divisions surrounding agricultural policy is due to clashing views over commodity prices and the policies created to address the problems that arise. These programs heavily affect corn, grain, soy, bean, cotton, wheat, and oilseed farmers. The division mainly occurs between those who support government price support policies and those who support income support policies. Concerning environmental action and policy, there's tension and gridlock between those who support a technologically integrated future and those who believe that we need to simplify and begin to practice more traditional farming. Two main issues that highlight this conflict are the disagreement over land sharing versus land sparing and the dispute surrounding the increased use of agricultural biotechnology. Friction and discord surrounding these issues prevent necessary action from being taken and largely result in the continued degradation of the environment. The second problem concerning agricultural policy is the mismatch between the scale of policy action and the scale of farmers and consumers. The federal government creates a majority of legislation regarding agricultural policy and practices. However, these decisions frequently do not match the scale of the farms that they are affecting. We are currently trying to solve problems such as crop diversification, land design, and pest control at a federal level by creating a single unified approach. There is no one-size-fits-all to agricultural policy. We can't solve local issues at the national level. Personalization of policy needs to occur. Local governments and communities need to decide how they are going to create multifunctional landscapes and implement management strategies because each farm is different. This idea is active in animal welfare through the COWS program, which makes individual reports that compare farm statistics and productivity to other farms in the area. Everyone is playing by the same rules, and simple management and design features can be shared and implemented to fix common localized problems. Addressing scale mismatch also applies to the disconnection between supply and demand. The dairy industry currently faces fluctuating prices and declining industry, as well as extreme supply and demand separation. The day-to-day productivity of farmers is entirely independent of current demand, and farmers are not able to easily pivot or change their production when there are market changes. However, there have been advances regarding the pricing of milk. The milk marketing order sets prices within the geographic area and assures farmers that they will get a reasonable minimum and consumers will get an adequate supply of dairy. The third main issue regarding agricultural policy is the lack of clarity and education, especially from the side of the consumer. Consumers show their preference for products through purchasing power, and this is a primary driver of policy changes. Although it's beneficial in determining consumer demand and what farms should supply, consumers often lack vital information regarding controversial issues such as agricultural biotechnology and pesticide use. Studies have shown that the more people oppose the use of GMOs, the less they understand about the technology. Many consumers don't know exactly why they oppose genetic engineering, as they receive mixed messages and false information from the media. This problem also applies to the use of pesticides and herbicides. Recently, there has been a movement by consumers to ban the use of glyphosate, a common herbicide used throughout America.
It's found in beer, in pasta, in bread. It's in us. And now it's the focus of a multi-million-dollar battle playing out in U.S. courtrooms. It's all about glyphosate.
Misconceptions, poor communication, lack of education, and false claims have created a widespread belief among the general population that glyphosate is a carcinogenic, even though this is not true. Every regulatory agency in the world, except for the IARC, has concluded that glyphosate does not cause cancer. Additionally, many consumers don't realize the vital role pesticides, herbicides, and agricultural biotechnology play, as they have increased life expectancy and crop yields, as well as decreased prices of produce and lowered levels of malnourishment and hunger. Lack of clarity and education within the general population generates distrust of helpful and necessary advances in technology and contributes to political gridlock. In conclusion, I believe that the current agricultural policy in the United States achieves basic goals. However, policies need to be modified to achieve a more comprehensive and interdisciplinary approach that works to satisfy consumer, producer, and ecological demands. We need to reevaluate how we approach controversial issues such as land conservation to help create more bipartisan support. Additionally, agricultural policy needs to address the mismatch between scales of management as well as increase the clarity of issues and technological advances for the general public. Progress towards these goals is occurring regarding different sectors of agricultural production, and we need to continue down that path.